Hey guys, it's Jago. Welcome back to my channel. Today we have an Endwalker job tier list. Now I should give a small disclaimer before we start by saying that this list is not based purely on DPS numbers, but also job utility offered to the party. I should also throw out there that I'm not a top ranked or 100 parsing player or anything like that. I'm just a guy who's done a lot of content in Party Finder, and this is what I think realistically we will see from these jobs. Also, keep in mind that this list was made for fun, so take what I say with a grain of salt and try to enjoy it. Alright, the first job we're going to be looking at today is Dragoon. And Dragoon seems to be just getting some really good quality of life changes in Endwalker. It's already a super solid job, so seeing it get some small improvements just make it look even more appealing. So now, Blood of the Dragon will become a trait, Spine Shatter Dive will have 2 charges, Lance Charge cooldown is reduced to 60 seconds, and Battle Litany will be reduced to 120 seconds. So having a more frequent raid-wide damage buff as well as Dragon Sight to boost another DPS's damage higher as well makes Dragoon really attractive in pretty much any raid comp. Plus they already do really solid damage, so I think Dragoon is an easy S tier. Alright guys, the next job we're going to talk about Warrior. So basically, Warrior's damage buffs can now be triggered and continued by a Warrior's AoE combo. This includes Storm's Eye. Onslaught and Upheaval no longer drain the beast gauge upon use. Onslaught now has 3 charges, enabling the Warrior to get around the battlefield more. There will be a new action added that will become available when you execute Inner Release, and Nascent Flash will also help while off tanking. So Warrior is getting even more self-healing and easier combos, more Inner Release. Really good changes for the Warrior, which is already a really good tank. So I think Warrior is probably going to have to be an A tier for me. Alright guys, the next job we're going to be looking at is Red Mage. Red Mage is getting some pretty minimal changes, but just nice stuff as well. There is a new action after using Scorch. Flare, Verholy, and Scorch are now AoEs and can be used for AoE rotation. A new defensive party-wide buff will be added called Magic Barrier. Weapon skills have been adjusted across the job. The rate of black and white mana depletion has been reduced. Manification has been adjusted to make the burst damage at the beginning of the fight much stronger. Its recast timer is now at 110 seconds. Displacement and engagement will now have the same potency, and Embolden's recast timer has been adjusted to 120 seconds. So basically, Red Mage getting even more Red Mage abilities. Already a super strong job because it brings an extra res to the party, which can be huge in prog. Not to mention their damage isn't bad at all. So I think Red Mage is an easy A tier, maybe even Red Mage could probably be an S tier actually. We're gonna make Red Mage an S tier. I think it's just too good. It's too good for prog. It does good damage. It's just good all around to have. Red Mage is going S for me. Alright, up next we have Scholar, and it's being tweaked just to be a more effective barrier healer. A new job action which can buff party movement speed during combat will be added. We've all seen that. Works like sprint but doesn't override it if it's active. Also works as a damage reduction buff, and a new powerful buff that can be targeted for a single party member. So Scholar is already a really good healer in the right hands, and it's looking even more solid in Endwalker, so we're definitely going to give Scholar an A. S tier in the right hands, D tier in the wrong hands, but overall we'll give it an A. Perfectly good healer. Alright guys, up next we have Dark Knight. There are some more substantial changes to Dark Knight, but nothing big really. Salted Earth is no longer a placed ability. Instead, activating it will affect the area immediately around the Dark Knight. So it's basically going from a ground target to a target you. Living Shadow will be getting a brand new action when you acquire a new job ability during Endwalker leveling. Delirium recast has been adjusted to 60 seconds. Plunge, like the Paladin's Intervene,
has seen its distance increased to 20 yalms, and there is a new action that will be a single target defense buff. So the new defense buff is sounding really nice. Salted Earth, I know some people are kind of like on the fence about that, because if you do any, like, I think there's some like kind of weird uptime strats you can do with being able to manually place it, which you can't do with making it like a me. So yeah, some people are really upset about the Dark Knight changes. I have to say Dark Knight has the worst tank invuln, and for me, they're gonna be C tier. That's probably the lowest I'm gonna have a tank, by the way, so that's my bottom pick for tank is Dark Knight. Alright, up next we have Dancer. They're made to just kind of smooth out the rotation and make it feel better. Certain weapon skill effects like Flourishing Cascade will be shared across single target and area of effect skills. There will be new actions available once you execute Technical Finish, Improvisation, and Devilment. Ability procs have been cleaned up now. Your hotbar buttons will be changed to either single target or AoE attacks based on which step you use. This is intended to conserve hotbar space and make playing Dancer a bit cleaner. E-Spirit gauge is now guaranteed to build, so some of the RNG is taken out of that. Dancer is really good in raid comp, guys. Their buffs are awesome, and DPS will fight over your dance partner. Not to mention they have Shield Samba and Curing Walt, but yeah, they look super good. Dancer is going to be an A tier for me. Alright, up next we have Machinist. So nothing really has changed much for Machinist. They're getting a new action called Chainsaw. I think I saw they're getting a shotgun, which looks pretty cool. And Automaton Queen will be getting a new action. And Reassemble has been given 2 charges. That way you can reassemble Drill and Air Anchor. So Machinist is a really solid DPS, but they don't bring much to the table as far as like the raid comp is concerned. However, they're super good in the right hands. So we're gonna just give Machinist a B. Overall, very solid job. And guys, keep in mind, these are just my picks. All these jobs are viable in raid. This is just like based on my experience pugging raids, what I think like the better comps are gonna be. That's all I'm going for here, so take it with a grain of salt. Alright, up next we have Gunbreaker. The changes to Gunbreaker are mostly to clean up hotbar bloat. Savage Claw and Wicked Talon will replace Gnashing Fane automatically in your hotbar, thus saving space. Your cartridge combo that begins with Gnashing Fangle's single button changing for subsequent attacks. You will be able to use Continuation following a Burst Strike. There will be a new trait that will raise your maximum amount of cartridges to 3, and Rough Divide, the Gunbreaker Gap Closer, will see its range increase to 20 yalms as well, just like Intervene and Plunge. So yeah, Gunbreaker is already probably the strongest damage tank. It also has very good raid-wide utility. Its invuln isn't terrible. Yeah, and it's just getting easier to play. So I think that's gonna have to be the S tier tank for me, guys. I think Gunbreaker is gonna be the tank in Endwalker. Alright, up next we have Bard. Again, not much is changing with Bard. The 3 songs will make available a brand new action that offers a party-wide buff. So basically they're getting a gauge, and each song will create a seal, kind of like Divination on Astro. Another new action will be available when you execute Apex Arrow. The recast timers for Wanderer's Minuet and Battle Voice have changed to 120 seconds, in line with other changes for all jobs. So cooldown reduction, they get a party-wide buff based on the gauge. Basically seems a lot like Astro's Divination to me. I don't really know how effective that buff is going to be, because Bard's potency is already pretty bad. I would typically probably put Bard as a D tier job. In the right hands, it's very good. I've seen good Bards do very well with the job, but on average, most Bards don't really do near as much damage as like a Dancer or a Machinist does. So with those kind of uncertainties, we're going to place it as a C tier as well. Astro is getting some really major overhauls in Endwalker, guys. As you know, Shield Astro is going away, which breaks my little heart. Diurnal Sect and Nocturnal Sect will be removed. Basic healing actions will be adjusted to have the same effects as they would under Diurnal Sect, so permanent Diurnal Sect. Divination will be changed, seals to be used for new buffs applied to the player, and Divination is going to just be a 2-minute cooldown that's 6% buff all the time. So, no more RNG in Divination. Pretty sweet for Astros, if you're a Regen Astro. it's looking really good for you. Redraw will no longer be a charge action. Every time you use draw, you can use redraw once. Adjustments to minor arcana planned, and a new AoE spell that'll work as both a healing and offensive ability. So, if you can look over the fact that they're not going to have shields, Astro's actually looking super good, and Endwalker with the divination buff. However, their potency is still going to be much lower than White Mage. But we may see some meta comps with like Astro, Scholar, Astro, Sage, so we just don't know yet. But for right now, this may just be my bias as to losing Noct, but I'm going to put Astro in B tier. Alright, Samurai, not changing much as well, but maintaining combos and weaving AoEs will be easier according to the job changes. Effects granted by Jinpu and Shifu will also be applied by AoE combos. New actions similar to Iaijutsu and Sumabe Geeshi will be available. Subami Geeshi and Mikio Shisui will now have 2 charges. So, yeah, Samurai is just getting more Samurai. It's already a super potent DPS in the right hands. However, in the wrong hands, it offers no raid-wide utility. So, it's kind of, I would say, a middle-of-the-pack class. Of course, a really, really good Samurai is going to be an S tier, and they're going to be topping damage over a lot of jobs. But if someone's not so great at it, you know, you don't really get anything else out of it, and because of that, I'm gonna have to put Samurai as an A tier. Alright, White Mage. White Mage is not really changing much at all, except for the fact that all healers' cast time is being reduced to 1.5 seconds. So with that and the GCD being 2.5 seconds, that can leave us to believe that White Mages are going to have 1 second to weave between every glare cast, which is huge. That means no more clipping for glare. I think White Mage is going to do an absolute monstrous amount of damage in Endwalker, guys. Divine Benison is becoming a charge action. High tier Holy Spell is being added that will contribute to the Lily Gauge. And they're getting a restorative field, which is the Lily Bell we saw in the Job Actions trailer. I think White Mage is going to absolutely smash an Endwalker, and it's going to get an S tier for me, guys. It's kind of hard not to. It's already super good on damage and HPS, so changes that just make it even better, it's hard to argue. It's going to be, I think it's going to be the best region healer. Alright guys, up next we have Ninja. Ninja is not getting changed very much either, just some quality of life stuff there as well. New actions linked to Raiton, Doton, and Huton abilities will be implemented. A new action will make it easier to activate or maintain the Huton gauge. Shadowfang will be removed, and a new ability linked to Bunshin will be added. So, yeah, I like that they're getting rid of Shadowfang. That's one stupid GCD that you don't have to do in the opener anymore. Yeah, it seems like just a lot of good quality of life stuff. In my opinion, Ninja was already an S tier job because Trick Attack is a super frequent raid-wide buff, so that's giving them the raid-wide utility, plus their damage is always really solid. So Ninja is going to have to be an S tier for me as well. Alright guys, so Black Mage. Not much is changing here either, but it is getting some pretty big quality of life stuff, so it'll be interesting to see how Black Mage performs. Enochian has been changed to a trait that's automatically applied when you're affected by Astral Fire or Umbral Ice. The current version of the skill was difficult for some players to grasp, and that's why they said they're changing it. So, under specific conditions, swapping between Astral Fire and Umbral Ice will make new actions available. In order to smooth out the rotation, the procs for Fire 4 and Thunder 4 have been extended, which is really nice. That means you can hold those for, like, movement. For Thunder 4, which is really nice to eliminate a cast bar, so that's the way I see it is that's adding mobility. Likewise, Fire 2 and Blizzard 2 will have an additional step, meaning your AoE rotation will change, and Sharpcast will have an additional charge. So this is again one of those jobs that is going to be the top damage on any fight if someone's really, really good at it, and if you're not, it's going to be the bottom damage. From most of my experience and like playing with Black Mages and PF, if someone's not really good at it, it's really rough. So I think the skill gap on Black Mage is going to make me have to rate it lower. Also, it doesn't bring any real raid-wide utility to the group either, and because of that, I'm gonna make it a B. Alright, Sage. So Sage is going to have an ability called Cardia that is used to target enemies, to attack, and designate a party member to heal simultaneously. So that's really cool. It does healing through doing damage. There will be an ability that adds a chance for your attacks to afflict a dot effect as well, which is really, really cool. I think that's interesting. The Adder Skull is the gauge that accumulates and lets you instantly cast barrier heals. Icarus is a gap closer that they're going to have. And they also showed off some pretty cool looking attacks where the Nihilists like shoot lasers out of them and stuff. It looks like Sage is going to kind of be like the speed barrier healer. And also, since it's going to be able to do healing through damage, I think that Sage is absolutely going to pump. So I think Sage is going to be... Now, I know, guys, this is just a prediction, so don't lose your minds over this, but I'm going to say it's going to be the S tier barrier healer. Alright, guys, up next we have Monk. Monk is getting some pretty big changes, so let's go ahead and talk about those. Chakras will be unlocked at a lower level. Masterful Blitz is a new action. When conditions are fulfilled, Perfect Balance will grant the Masterful Blitz ability. The particular Blitz granted depends on the weapon skills used while Perfect Balance is in effect. A Yin and Yang chakra will be implemented that will grant different skills. True Strike and Twin Snakes will no longer include positional effects. Shoulder tackle will be removed, but a new gap closing ability will be added to let you target allies to jump towards them. So, pretty big. Monk getting some huge mobility upgrades, and it sounds like some pretty nice damage upgrades. Again, this is one of those jobs that's like, usually if people are really good at it, they do really good, and if they're not, it's mediocre. But it's usually an overall pretty solid pick. Also, Brotherhood is just such a good buff. My top choices in like a group for melee is a combination of like a ninja and a monk, or a dragoon and a monk. It's gonna be really good, so I'm gonna have to give monk an A. Okay, guys, then we have Summoner. Summoner is getting a complete rework, guys, so this is just a total stab in the dot. Dark, sorry, I said dot because my mind is on the fact that they're making it not a dot class anymore. Dot classes are going away. We're getting actual primal summons, not Aggies, real primals. They can now infuse their power into various jewels. The new names of each summoned primal are Ifrit Ruby, Titan Topaz, and Garuda Emerald. By summoning one of the three, you augment your abilities with their elemental properties. The new rotation still involves summoning Demi Bahamut, which unlocks the 3 elemental jewels, then you can summon the 3 primals in any order. Once that's done, you can summon Demi Phoenix, which recharges the jewels again. After that, use the primals again and back to Demi Bahamut. Each summoned primal has a different focus. Ifrit Ruby has a rush action and a long cast, high damage ability. Titan has instant and fast cast, and Garuda has a number of placement abilities. So they're going to swap between standing still and dealing more damage, or being more mobile. Physic is remaining. Resurrection is remaining, and you can still glamour your carbuncle to look like any other Iggy. So, guys, with this rework, I have no idea where to place this one. So I'm gonna put it down at E. This is not what I think it's gonna be. I think it's gonna be really good, but I don't know how to even go about ranking it. If I had to guess, I would say it's probably gonna be an A tier. But I just don't know. So we're just gonna leave it alone and move past it. There's just you know, not enough information for me to be able to gauge that one fairly, I don't feel. Alright, guys, up next we have Reapers. Reapers use a scythe and have an avatar that attacks alongside them. There's a phase where the Reaper serves as the avatar's vessel for powerful attacks and party buffs. 2 bars make up the Reaper's job gauge, the soul gauge, and the shroud gauge. Normal attacks and other specific abilities fill the soul gauge, which you can then expand to summon avatar attacks. Avatar attacks then fill the shroud gauge, which you can then expand to activate powerful attacks where you fuse with the avatar. Temple will require some technical skill, and there's some gauge management, but is said to not be too difficult as a new job to learn. There's also a cool gap closer where you can like place a portal and kind of jump around with it. So I know I said I didn't want to rate Summoner because it's getting completely reworked and we can't really know. However, I think I've seen enough Reaper gameplay to kind of be able to judge it. I think it's going to be an A tier, and I'll tell you why I think that. I think this is going to be another one that's going to be like people who are good at it do really well. Of course, there's a big like skill ceiling on every job in Final Fantasy. I know I keep saying that, but It's the truth. However, we do know that Reaper has a really nice shield that turns into a heal when it's broken, almost like the Blackest Night, but it turns into a regen afterwards, and that's party-wide. So that potentially could be really huge in raid. So I already like the party utility that they have, and that's going to be the reason why I felt like I could rate them. Alright guys, and up last we have Paladin. So Paladin is looking really good and not much is changing, but the changes look really nice. Requiescat currently increases its potency as your MP decreases. That will no longer be the case in 6.0. It will have the same potency all the time, so that's really nice. You can just blast in your Requiescat window now. A new 3-attack combo will be added with Confiteor as the beginning of the combo. This is absolutely stunning in the job action trailer. As we saw, it was gorgeous. Intervene, the gap closer skill, now has an increased distance of 20 yalms up from 15, so its gap closer is getting increased as well. Yeah, again, not much changing with Paladin. Paladin's always been pretty solid, so I think it's gonna go into A tier for me. And yeah, guys, that's it. I think it's looking pretty good. And again, like, this isn't some like super min-max tier list, guys, where every job on the top is gonna be a top damage dealer. This is just what I see. I think from my experience in pugging ultimate content and pugging savage content is going to be the best in a comp, a party comp, that you're gonna want to have. These are gonna be the ones that are sought after. So I really appreciate you guys for stopping by and watching the video. If you liked it, please don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button. It really helps me out and supports the channel. And have a wonderful day.